Welcome back to The Ed Show. Most Americans are tired of the Tea Party. That's what the surveys show. After 4 years of watching the Tea Party paralyze our political process and hold our economy hostage with no movement on jobs, even Republicans are turning their backs on the movement. Polls show a steep decline in Tea Party support among Republicans since their peak of influence in 2010. But there's one state where far-right Tea Partiers can still find refuge, the Lone Star State of Texas. On Tuesday, Tea Partiers won big in the state of Texas in the primary runoffs. John Radcliffe of the Tea Party unseated Congress's oldest member, 91-year-old World War II veteran Ralph Hall, lost by 6 percentage votes, 6 percentage points. The Tea Party's keystone victory came from State Senator Dan Patrick, who used to be a sportscaster in Houston. The conservative radio talk show host beat Republican incumbent David Brewer's by over 30 percentage points in a race for lieutenant governor. Patrick played by the Tea Party textbook, and he won. He attacked the incumbent for being way too moderate and spewed anti-Obama rhetoric.
I understand why Obama thinks he can change the weather, because he thinks he's God. He thinks he is the smartest person in the country. He thinks he knows better in Washington what we do in Texas. He thinks he's the one, through all of his executive orders, that Congress isn't even up to his level. So I'm not surprised he thinks he can also change the weather.
Oh, yeah, wear the plaid shirt and go after the president. Folks, those are the words of a man who is now one step closer to the second highest office in the state of Texas. Proof the Tea Party is still very much alive and well in the Lone Star State. Joining me tonight for a rapid response panel on this, Sarah Slayman. She's a field director for the Fort Bend County Democratic Party in Texas, and also Professor Mark Jones, chair of the Department of Political Science at Rice University. Professor, we'll start with you first tonight. Can you give us a description of the political climate in Texas if Tea Party is not showing very much strength nationally, but in Texas it seems to be very strong? What gives?
Well, the Tea Party in Texas is stronger than ever. We've seen the Tea Party not only win elections, but pull the entire center of gravity within the Texas Republican Party further to the right, or even establishment Republican candidates like Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst felt compelled to compete on the Tea Party's home turf and tried to out-conservative the Tea Party leaders, which was a futile task.
So is this the Ted Cruz effect?
In many ways, these candidates are following the Ted Cruz playbook. They're trying to cater to the very small number of people who actually turn out to vote in the Republican primary, and they're hitting all of the red meat, hot button issues that these people want to hear. So they're hammering in on border security, and they're hammering in on and they're hammering in on abortion and gun control, and all of those things together mobilize the small number of people that they need to vote. Overall, it's important to remember that Dan Patrick won fewer than 500,000 votes, yet he will most likely be the lieutenant governor for 27 million Texans come 2015.
Sarah, what does this signal to you about what 2014 is going to be all about in Texas?
2014 is going to be about the fight for the political conscience of Texas. You know, when I hear sound bites like the Tea Party's stronger than ever, they're stronger than ever with less than 4% turnout in those primaries for their voters last night. You know, these decade-long efforts at redistricting and this radical voter suppression agenda, it has been working for the GOP. But organizations like the Texas Democratic Party and other orgs in Texas, we have something for them this year. We're working on a radical outreach program of our own where we're going to empower these voters and let them know they have a choice.
Well, Sarah, there's been speculation over whether Texas could flip blue in the near future. In the wake of what we've seen, is this going to be the key for the Republicans to maintain their power? They want low voter turnout, and what does that signal for the progressives? You
know, I wouldn't compare the primary runoff to what you're going to see the general in this year. The choice could not be clearer at this point. You have people like Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick at the top of their ticket. These people who brag about closing down clinics for poor people. You've got people in charge over there on their side calling Mexicans and Mexican Americans invaders. On our side, we have Chairman Gilberto Hinojosa and Leticia Vandepute inviting Latinos into the process with a lot of vigor for the first time. I don't think anyone can call this yet for Dan Patrick or Greg Abbott. These folks have no imagination. They're talking to the same small wedge group of voters, and they're not motivating them by talking about Obama and abortion. They're motivating them by talking about racism and misogyny. That's how they're getting their votes. We have a much more hopeful message to offer with our diverse and hardworking slate.
Yeah, Professor Jones, I'd like you to respond to that. What do you think of that answer? Is that true?
Well, I think this certainly, particularly the candidacy of Dan Patrick, will provide an important test case of, is there a point on the ideological spectrum that the Republican Party can cross? That is, can it present a candidate that is so conservative that many voters who generally vote Republican in November or don't turn out actually do vote for a Democratic candidate, in this case, Patrick's opponent, Leticia Vandepute. Now, that said, I think it's very unlikely that any Democrat is going to win statewide in 2014, barring some epic collapse or epic gaffe by one of the candidates. 2018, that might be a different story, but for 2014, I think Texas is going to still stay red.
So you think Wendy Davis, a Democratic choice to run for governor, has got an uphill battle at this point?
It's a very uphill battle. I think something that's recognized by national Democrats as well. And in fact, among the Democratic candidates, the candidate most likely to have the narrowest margin of defeat would be Leticia Vandepute, who I think is a stronger candidate in many ways than Wendy Davis, and also is running against a weaker Republican candidate, Dan Patrick, who I think is quite rightly located on the very right edge of the Republican ideological spectrum here in Texas. He is the most conservative senator in the Texas Senate, and that is among a very group of very conservative senators.
Sarah Slayman, your response to what the professor just said about Wendy Davis, is it that far of a reach in your opinion?
I don't think it's that far of a reach at all. You know, we have had a really successful vote-by-mail initiative this year in the Texas Democratic Party, and if you look at some of the races in our local races where we won in local elections, we're really kicking butt with that. We're bringing people into the process for the first time. A lot of people had a lot of interesting predictions in 2007 about the presidential race, and they were wrong in 2008. So for now, you know, Texas Democrats, we're used to being alone, and we're going to fight this alone.
All right, it's a state to watch, no doubt. Sarah Slayman and Professor Mark Jones of Rice University, great to have both of you with us tonight. Thanks so much. Coming up, Sean Hannity gets